Hi there, it's Nicole Spohr and welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to kind of revisit a technique that I shared recently. This is an embossed background colored with a marker. Today we're going to do Copic markers. Previously I did some Zig Clean Color Real Brush markers. Embossed areas provide a fantastic place to, touch your marker down to that embossed area and color. I'm going to briefly show you components of the July 2021 Simon Says Stamp card kit called Garden Greetings. This is a fantastic new card kit. I'm just showing you an overview of everything you're getting in the kit, including dies, that great mesh bag to keep everything in. I love these for keeping all of the components for the projects I want to create together. The new embossing folder we're using, brand new adhesive, glue runner, and refills from Simon Says Stamp, beautiful pattern papers, sequins, cardstock, all of this good stuff to create beautiful cards. This is my first card of the month, even though it's not quite July yet, but that features this kit. So we are going to start with the Blossom Field embossing folder included in the kit. On the side that has the indentions of the flowers, meaning not the raised part of the flowers, we're going to take the Tim Holtz small brayer and some Simon Says Stamp fog ink, which is a very, very light gray. And we are going to brayer this onto the embossing folder, the smoother side. Then we're going to place some cardstock that I already pre-cut. The cardstock is from the kit. It's the 110-pound weight solar white cardstock, and we are going to run that through our die cutting machine using the embossing sandwich. I know it's very light. I wanted something subtle, so you can see that the background areas have a very light gray. I held it up to that white piece of cardstock, so hopefully you could see the difference. And then the raised areas have remained white. I think you can kind of see it in right now on camera that it's got that very, very light gray background. I love this technique. So this is kind of a 2-for-1 technique. We have added color to the background for a more dramatic effect. You can use much darker ink colors. You can use multiple ink colors. There's lots and lots of different things you can do there. And then I'm simply going to start coloring. Quick coloring here with my markers. I have listed the marker numbers at the top of the screen. As always, when coloring, take into consideration your marker medium. So I mentioned earlier that I have another video where I used the Zig Clean Color Real Brush markers. I used Bristol Smooth cardstock for that because for me, I have found that is the perfect cardstock for any type of Zig Clean Color Real Brush marker coloring. For this, I used the cardstock from the kit because Neenah 110-pound weight is my favorite cardstock for coloring with Copic markers, an alcohol ink based marker. So definitely make sure that when you decide what coloring medium you want to use, you pick the right cardstock for the project. Now I am simply going to go around and color in each area. I found this extremely relaxing and fun. I love creating these all over backgrounds, and the end result is so beautiful. I did really quick coloring. It is a lot of coloring, so when I say quick coloring, it is going to still take a little bit of time, simply because there's a lot of area to color in, but I find it relaxing. It's a lot of repetition. I usually try to limit my color choices to just a few. You'll notice that I'm using this color combination, G20, 24, and 28, for a lot of the greenery in this blossom field. The larger of the flowers are all going to be yellows, so that's going to be our yellow color combination. And then any of the little like buds or little teeny tiny flowers are going to be kind of a blue violet color. I love blue violet with yellows, and so that's what we're going to do for that. I did use one other green color combination for the leaves that are a little bit different than the ones we've just colored, the leaves and vines. And I'll show you that here in a minute, just because I felt like they needed a little bit of different coloring to help them stand out. But it's completely up to you. You could totally do all the flowers in different colors if you wanted to. This is just kind of what works best for me. And I was influenced a lot by this pattern paper over to the left that I have on screen. We're going to be using that for the background. This is one of the pattern papers included in the kit. It is a Paper Rose Forever 6x6 pattern paper. You guys know if there is a text background, I'm going to use it. I love this background. I think it's really, really pretty and elegant. I think it's going to work really nice with this panel once it is all colored in. I am going to color quite a bit of the panel on camera. I'm not going to color all of it. As I mentioned, it is a lot of repetition and we don't want to sit here all day just with the coloring. At least I don't, because I'll run out of things to talk about probably, or I'll just start rambling. But anyway, very fun. I've zoomed in a little bit closer, which I think maybe will help a bit, I hope. I am using YG 93 and 97 for those other leaves that I just mentioned a minute ago. This is a little bit more of an olive green color combination, which I love. I think that it works nice with everything, yet it's enough different than the other color combination, which is what I was going for. I have a scrap piece of paper you'll see in a minute where I tried out some different color combinations prior to choosing and finalizing what I was going to use for this panel. And that's kind of how I came about everything I'm doing here. So I thought it worked well together. Because I started with a smaller piece of cardstock, I should mention the measurement for this. A lot of times I will trim to 4 by 5 1/4. I actually went to 3 3/4 by 5 for this background panel. I also trim it, if at all possible, before I run it through my embossing folder, because that embossed area can kind of distort the edges of the cardstock a bit. Sometimes it's a little harder to get a good cut, a good trim afterwards, at least it is for me. And so I opted to go ahead and start with a smaller panel. And one of the reasons being is I want that text background border when we mat this on our background to show on the card. And so that was something that was a priority for me when creating this design, is making sure that the text pattern paper would show all the way around the perimeter. We'll color just a little bit more of this, and then we're going to move on to the sentiments for our card. We're going to be using both a stamped sentiment from the Garden Greetings stamp set included in the kit, and we're going to be using the Big Hugs die, which is also included in the kit. I think that is so awesome. It is a fantastic size. It comes with the die plus the shadow. I'm only going to use the die today, not the shadow. And one of the reasons being is I don't want to cover up too much of the coloring in the background. I want it to be pretty minimal because our background is the focal point today. Because we're not using any other embellishment, we're not die cutting any flowers or stamping any additional flowers. The background is the embellishment of this design. And then I'll just color the rest of that. So we're going to take the thank you sentiment from the Garden Greetings stamp set, stamp that on some smooth white cardstock from the kit using Simon Says Stamp Willow ink. And then I will die cut that with a sentiment labels die from my stash. And then we are going to adhere our trimmed down text paper, which is 5.5 or 4 1/4 by 5.5 inches. That's A2 size, right on our card base. And then we're going to adhere our colored in embossed panel right in the center of that. Now for my sentiment, I did use the black cardstock in the kit originally, and then I decided there's a black pattern paper, which is kind of a black on black pattern, that I die cut the hugs from, and I'm going to adhere the pattern paper hugs to the cardstock hugs, and then we're going to glue the whole thing to our card base. And it's very, very subtle. The pattern is subtle, but I like it a lot. I kind of like it better than the solid black. And being black, it's going to show up really nicely over the busy floral background, and it ties in nicely to our text background as well. Then we're just going to put a little glue on the back of this and pop that down in place. Kind of in the upper half in the center. I'm going to die cut that sentiment, as I mentioned, the thank you, with a sentiment labels die. I'm going to place a little foam adhesive on the back of this, and then we're going to adhere it directly to our card background, kind of above hugs, overlapping the loop a bit. And to help get that perfectly placed, I am going to use a T-square ruler. I don't want it to be sitting on top of the lines in the letter U. So I'm using my T-square ruler to help get that exactly straight. That looks good, and that is going to finish up our card. Thank you guys so much for joining me today for this card featuring components from the July 2021 card kit from Simon Says Stamp called Garden Greetings. The supplies I used to create my card are listed and linked below the video here on YouTube. Here is another video featuring Simon Says Stamp products that you might be interested in. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and be sure to subscribe to my channel and hit that notification bell to never miss a new card making video. Thank you guys so much for joining me today, and we'll catch you next time.